Hi there, and thank you for clicking on my video. This video is going to be talking about sort of the more of a state of the game. Earlier this week, I noticed something was kind of happening in terms of like the direction of the update. When the update came out, every obviously enjoying the update, playing through it, doing the quest was top priority. But once you get done with the quest and you're running missions, then you had um, farming the Vocas, increasing standing, and just a general farm. But we're kind of at the point where now that all the arcanes are ranked up, we're kind of left with a very, very heavily time gated grind. And obviously, there's the Archon Shard issue, especially with Taos. The Netracell farm is going to start to become a bit of an issue as game progression goes. And the main reason that it comes around that this is an issue is because the Netracell runs are gated at 5 per week. The reward pool is very dirty. But obviously, you're trying to get Taos. Obviously, you're trying to get the legendary arcane. Taos are now one of the hardest to get resources and have been for a while. Probably the only thing that's a more limited quantity uh, is probably Umbral Forma. Now that everything's ranked up, rank 5, we're finishing stuff off. It's melee arcane adapters. Obviously, you're going to get the sigils sometime. Actually, we can just go ahead and get our next to last one. There we go. One less to get. But everything's been built. Everything weapon-wise and Warframe-wise. Got 2 Corvexes. Got 1 Helminth. Now that we're basically running out of stuff to do, and as wonderful as the update was, let's be honest, we're kind of back to old Warframe again. And we're basically left with a mission that's been added to our weekly to-do list. So the issue is that, like on this Gyre, I splurged because I'm becoming a bigger and bigger Gyre player. Is I have 5 Tau Forged of the new shards in it. That requires 10 normal Tau Forged. And obviously, completing 10 or 12 frames with. Oh, let's get away from the heartbeat. 10 or 12 frames with this level of buff, which is obviously, like, we are Warframe players, we are completionists, or at least you want enough of a resource that you're not really capped or limited on anything. And if you are limited, you need to be able to farm it out on what you want to do. So, like on this Gyre, I have the 5 of the new Taos, and obviously I'm going to want those on several Warframes, at least 5, so it doesn't impact, daily play. Because the fact is the new Taos are very, very, very strong. When they are usable, they are very, very strong. But if you build a frame around the new Taos, it is difficult to run not too difficult, but it is cumbersome to run a build setup with Forma that takes into account the new Taos and then have a build on the same frame that doesn't utilize the new Taos. Even though the new Taos don't impact it that much, but like if you have a frame, say that you like casting speed on, and you've moved natural talent off the modding of the frame and onto the Taos, if you have to take the Taos off, you then have to put natural talent back on. You can now do that with Equilibrium. If you were able to move natural talent and Equilibrium off the modding portion of the frame and onto the towels, if you have to constantly trade towels around, one, that gets pretty expensive bile-wise. But two, you can't really, if you're sacrificing strength or maybe like crit damage on your melee setups, and you're compensating with like the topaz towel or the crit damage to melee towels based on energy level, you might have had to have thrown like a single equilibrium shard on to be able to make the exchange for a equilibrium setup, but now you have to run flow. And if your frame didn't have enough energy to reach the energy requirement, you probably had to double into the energy requirement, modding wise. So being able to run this has left us in sort of a little bit of a catch-22. Obviously, it's not that big of a deal. If you can't do it, then obviously you don't go into the topaz or into the shards, the new shards. But the fact is that this is a really weird time gate to even exist in Warframe. I've interacted with this sort of time gate in the past. This was literally the reason why I stopped playing MapleStory 2. I've mentioned this, but I'll just recap real quick. In MapleStory, there were like sort of like these quote-unquote dungeons you could do with bosses. And in order to progress in the game and unlock new areas, you had to be a specific power level. But there was an unlock mission that required you to have a lower level to get into the new area. So say like you needed like just for round numbers, you needed to be power level 100 to get into the new area. The area that you would be in would get you up to like 90. And then you had to farm out this mission to get from 90 to like 101, and then you would go to the new area. That mission was gated per week. So if you did the mission and you didn't get the drops that you needed to boost your power level, you literally couldn't progress in the game. Now, progression in Warframe is having resources and farming in order to do that, and we're gated now. So the max amount of shards that you can get per week, and this isn't including like the legendary arcanes, right? Which is another issue, because that's going to take you like a year to farm out, unless you're lucky. But you have, let's say you get one shard every single time from the Netracell mission. You're obviously going to get one from the Archon mission. You're obviously going to get one from Call. That means in 1 week, you can't even combine, and it's RNG dependent, but if you were to guarantee get one from every single mission, you still couldn't complete with the new shards a frame build each week. There's no way to swipe for this, not that I'm saying there should be, but just the drop rates and the limited chances that you have at getting these are so low that it's a very weird time gate to exist in Warframe. So obviously the shards, like obviously you want the towels. There's no reason whatsoever, if you have the choice and it doesn't impact you in some other way, if you have a towel version versus a non-towel, unless it's like a corrosive setup where you would run the regular version over a towel. Obviously there's a circumstance now with the corrosive where if you don't want a full strip, you would want 13 stacks with the green towels, or you would run 2 regular, right? So it's kind of where it's at. But everything else, like whatever the buff is, you obviously want more of that buff. So it's just a really, really weird drop rate to exist in Warframe. If the loot pool changed, or the number of attempts changed to where you could hard farm it, I don't mind the percentages, honestly. It's not the thing that bugs me, but it's the combination of the percentages and the 5 limited. And honestly, it's more the 5 chances each week that's the thing that bothers me the most. Because it's like saying, oh, you only get 5 chances each week at farming Intensify, and you have to go to a special node. Obviously, that's a hyperbolic example, but it's kind of the same thing, because this is the new thing that's the power scaling. This is the current power scaling method, and obviously you're going to want to polish it up, get everything farmed up. If there was a way to get Taos, even if the Netracell mission was unlocked fully, I think that's a little ridiculous this early into the update. But the fact is that if you were going to a full set of Taos, and they gave us the ability to combine regular shards, like say 3 normal shards created a Tau or something like that, you're still going to want a full set of Taos on your frame. So it's just, hopefully they fix it. I'm not going to go on too much of a rant about it, but it's just the math on this is pretty insane. Like the thing that got me thinking about it earlier in the week was the shards, the arcanes. Let's pull up the loot table. Okay, so we got the loot table here for Netracells. And the thing that had me looking at this earlier in the week, I wasn't even thinking about the Taos, was the new, like, rare arcanes. You can only get them from here. Now, all combined, obviously it's 80% of the stuff that you'd take, right? Like, at least at the beginning. I didn't mind the regular arcanes. But now that I've got rank 5 in these, it's basically a throwaway stat. Let's be honest, like a throwaway drop, like animosity, exposure, fortification, influence, retaliation, vortex. I don't want these anymore. I've got rank 5s. So it's melee crescendo, melee duplicate. The arcane adapter is 50k standing. I would say for now, I still want that. So we have Amber Archon Shard, so plus 9.17. And then Tau Forged is plus 2.5. And Crescendo and Duplicate. So each week, each time I run this mission, I have about 66.25% to get something that I even have the ability to use. Because I don't need these other arcanes. Obviously, I'll take a Tau Forged. Now, there's a chance it's not the one that I want, like, right at that second, but I'll still take a Tau Forged. I can use it somewhere on some frame. The melee arcane adapter, eventually I'm not going to want, but right now I still do. Obviously, the regular shards I want, and Crescendo and Duplicate are the only... but there's a 2/3 chance for me to get something that I can even use that will provide me with any benefit. So we're like 3 weeks into the update or whatever it is, and 1/3 of the benefit of this mission is gone because I've maxed the arcanes. Now, if you... Jeez. Okay, so if we'll do for both combined. So melee Crescendo and melee Duplicate both need 42, and here's the other issue, the length of time this grind takes. They're going to have to do something about the length of time. Right? Now, granted, you're pulling from the loot pool all at the same time, but say you want to max naturally and you don't want to whale for it. And you want to be able to... We'll just do one at a time, because it's going to apply for the same. So you need 21 rank 0s to get a rank 5, right? And you have 5 chances each week. Okay. And then you need... Sorry, we'll divide by 4. So if I run the mission 21 times and I get a duplicate every single time, first off, I'm extraordinarily lucky. Like, that is a legendary amount of luck for a legendary arcane. So it's going to take, at least at an absolute bargain basement minimum, with insane luck. People write, like, YouTube scripts about how lucky I am. It's going to take 5 weeks. On the 5th week, I even have the chance of getting a melee duplicate. So the world's luckiest person in Warframe has 15 duplicates naturally right now. So nobody, if you see somebody running around with a rank 5 duplicate, if every single drop from the Netracell has been a duplicate, nobody has this arcane yet at rank 5. Now that's fine, we're still a month in. I don't mind month-long runs. But now the issue is the drop percent. So basically we just have to divide by the percent. And this is 373. And this is going to be, if everything is intentional and the large number percentage average occurs, this is going to be the average number of attempts I need to be able to get a max duplicate or a max crescendo of one type, because currently this is the only place we can get that. So divide by 5 for the number of attempts a week. So it's going to take 74 weeks. If with not being any luckier, or worst case, not being lucky enough. But if your large number average comes out exactly to 5.62, this arcane is basically going to take a year and a half to farm. Right? And that's part of the problem, is we are going to be several updates into Warframe. And I think this is the reason why they're actually going to do something about it. Because this is way too far. This is way too long of a farm for this to be like the intended percentage. I kind of hope they, as you get rank 5s, maybe like the loot pool gets removed. Or the arcane gets removed from the loot pool, or they just get rid of the normal arcanes. Because they're standing, I generally don't want them. Throw other stuff in here. But the fact is that if you get the intended percent, it's going to take you basically a year and a half. And that's a lot of farm. And that doesn't include anything else. Obviously, you're going to be getting other stuff, and you're going to be pulling at the same time. So you're going to be advancing elsewhere also. But I am a bit of a completionist in this game. It's not my main goal, but most things I have maxed out. I obviously have the arcanes maxed now. Which was sort of the thing I was leaving off to the side for me to do. But now that's definitely not the case, thanks to the dissolution. But you're basically going to complete everything at about the year and a half mark, Netracell-wise. And I think for Warframe, that is a bit too long, because it's pure time gate. Over the Christmas break, and say like the New Year's break coming up, for those of you that have it, 372 runs. I probably would have done that if it wasn't gated. Like if speeding up the Netracell mission is like what I need to do to be able to get those arcanes, I would have been running that faster. But now it's like, oh, you're gated to 5. So it's going to take an insane amount of time in order to get this. And it is purely due to the gate. So hopefully they fix it. But if you want, this is the reason why everybody's making the videos about this now, about how garbage the Netracell is because they're running out of stuff to do. And there's this hanging Chad off to the side of the Netracell missions where you can't advance in the update. And it's because of a gate and a drop table. So it is what it is. Hopefully they fix it. They're going to fix it in a DE way, so I couldn't even begin to figure out what they're going to do. I think the easiest way is to just ungate it. I would rather if they just ungate it. There's no reason for these arcanes to be at rank 5 worth so damn much. Like, they intentionally killed Energize, and anybody that had Energizes and was like trying to flip arcanes immediately went over to the new arcanes. Like, you could actually pick up, compared to what the price is right now, let's see what a duplicate is. I'll pull up Warframe Market. Because duplicate is pretty good. Honestly, melee influence I think is the big one. But obviously everybody's going to want to duplicate. So the price is coming down a little bit, but it's 3,300. You can see where it jumped, where people were trying to buy it. Let's rank 0. Here we go. So it dropped down a little bit. This is over 90 days. And then everybody realized what the arcane was. And crescendo also. Now, the big thing with crescendo is you don't really need a rank 5. So duplicate is going to be the one where you want at least like a rank 3 or a rank 4. The rank 5 is just sort of like guaranteeing the proc, right? And crescendo, you really only need 1. And it's just going to be slower to stack up, but it doesn't increase the max value, right? So duplicate is the one that you're going to want a couple of. But it's gone up over price, and then it came down a little bit. But I remember this getting all the way up to, like, yeah, max was 5K. And at the beginning, people didn't know what the hell it was. And it was going for, like, next to nothing. Like, you can see, like, 2,200, and then it spiked up once people realized what the hell it was. Because for the first week, you couldn't even link it. Or for the first couple of days, before they updated it, they did the first patch, or the first hotfix, you couldn't even link duplicate. So unless you got it as a random drop and went, holy shit, I got this legendary arcane, you didn't even know it existed until the first hotfix. So the price skyrocketed, and it's even worse than Energized now. People are buying these rank 5, or have a willing to buy price of like 3,300 right now. A willing to buy, because it's so hard to get. Now, obviously, it's still new, but if you could farm these, I don't know, maybe give this a day-night cycle and give it like a percentage like Eidolons or something if they need to gate it some way. But it's just this farm takes too long, which I don't mind, but it takes too long specifically because of the gating, the 5 attempts a week. And hopefully they fix it. I don't know, DE's about to come off of their holiday break, but it is what it is. Anyway, rant over. Happy New Year's, guys.